Call the meeting to order. Good. First item is to have our public hearing. Do we have a motion to?
Move to open the public hearing?
Kathleen and Mark and Kathleen, all in favor? Opposed, abstained? None? Move forward. Public hearing's open. I look out to the crowd, and these look like familiar faces. Not the ones who are, so I'll just, rather than go through this, each article, is there anyone here that has anything they want to add to the public hearing? Carrie?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Carrie Denizio, RTM in Precinct 4 and Chair of the School Committee. And I just was hoping to take a few minutes to summarize the current budget picture for the school department and talk about how we're hoping to move forward after spring town meeting. So you all know the budget recommended by the town administrator and approved by FinCom is $520,186 short of the amount that would enable us to provide level services in FY '25. We've talked ad nauseum about the external budget drivers that have made that the reality: utilities, transportation, special ed. But we are still hopeful that we can continue to work together to close the gap. In prior joint discussions, we have agreed that the school department will receive a portion of the revenue that will come from the first year of the lease of the Johnson Middle School building to Tech and Bico, which obviously can't be allocated yet. It needs to be allocated in the fall. And that figure is anticipated to be at least $200,000, so that obviously will help significantly. Additionally, we're aware of how the overall budget picture is in flux. There have been some savings realized, there have been some costs that have increased. Health insurance savings have been realized, but other costs, like, the other high schools, the Aggie and Tri-County, have increased. We also know that local receipts isn't finalized and that state aid is expected to increase. And I don't know if anybody saw the latest numbers, but right now, a per pupil increase from $30 per pupil to $104 per pupil is what's being talked about, in the legislature. So this is all to say, obviously, since the vote took place at the end of March, certain parts of the revenue picture have changed, continue to change, and so we'll be looking for the standard school-town split of any additional revenue to be allocated at fall town meeting. But we did want to just kind of explain, especially for those who have not been following the budget process since January. I'm sure those people are few and far between, kind of where we stand and how we're looking to move forward. We have worked really hard to tighten our belts. We have used a great deal of our tuition savings and our special ed reserve to come as close as we can. It's leaving us operating very leanly, but we're confident that with your support, we will continue to maintain the standard of educational services that our community expects and deserves. We really, really appreciate the Finance Committee and the Select Board's support for maintaining strong public schools in Walpole, and we are committed to keeping the lines of communication open with you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from anyone? None?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I was a little unclear about this. There's still a gap, because the last conversation we had the budget, then we had conversations that we would work to fix it with all the unknown revenue, but there's still a gap.
Well, I think that we don't know how that revenue is going to shake out entirely. We know that the JMS leases have been signed. I think when occupancy starts is still a question
For one of them, yes.
for one of the tenants, so none of the numbers are concrete. So I guess the short answer to that question is, we feel pretty confident that that gap's going to shrink. We just can't say by what number exactly.
Okay. Is the school committee asking for, or going to propose a different warrant article, or?
No, not for spring, no.
Okay.
We will meet prior to town meeting to vote the number that you all voted. But we're just we wanted to be on record going into the fall that this is kind of what we anticipate.
Yeah, so I think waiting for the state numbers to come in, waiting for the leases, see where everything turns out, and if everything is positive, 529, you're expecting 200 for so 329, and hopefully there's another 329 that comes in from the state, and we can add that in the fall town meeting to the budget for the fiscal year '25, yeah. And if not, they're going to work within the budget that they have, if more doesn't come in. There's still that 1.5 million that's available if needed. We don't want to touch it, but it's there if we need it. Correct. Thank you. Any other questions? Do we have any other one from the public that would like to ask questions or talk on any of the articles? Or leave it open to anything in general. Guys town makes it too easy. I even put a nice note in, please come to the, to the public hearing. If there's nothing else or questions for the public hearing, we have a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Did you have any questions, ma'am, specifically?
No, I'm sure you covered it all.
If there's anything you have, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, go ahead, Donna.
No, I don't. I guess I'm just trying to figure out the building, the construction
Actually,
project.
do you mind just coming, because for the recording, we just get you on the microphone. If you want to grab the microphone and bring it towards the chair, or Scott, you want to give her the microphone?
Hold this. Yeah.
Thank you. So, I'm just kind of trying to get in my mind the cost benefits of the construction versus maybe you covered that, versus all the continuing employees that will be needed and the expenses after they retire. I know a couple of years ago, we had an 18% increase in the library because of the population. We needed to extend whatever the hours of the librarians. And I'm just kind of wondering what the deal is here, what the vision is here, and the fact that we still have a lot of commercial buildings, of the 2 apartment buildings, that have not filled that space. And I don't know why. It's such an attractive town to bring in your retail and your restaurant. But did you already cover that?
We have not. It's kind of general whole. I'm not sure
Is
where
Sarah
to get on the
here?
answer.
Is Sarah here?
Yes.
Oh, Sarah, hello. People have been.
She's referring to Article 13.
Yes, I guess I am.
The zoning overlay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, that's what, just making
Present
sure.
for you.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to give an answer on that question on the, I'm not sure there was a question there. More trying to, in general.
Is this about the MBTA community zoning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The article itself does not say we have to build, so it's not like a mandate that we have to go out and now start putting in multifamily housing downtown. It's just allowing by zoning bylaws that if a person says, we really could build and occupy some space, that they can now go, instead of going through special permits and everything else, under their, by right, they says, here's my proposal for multifamily housing, and just, start the permit process without having to jump through extra hoops. And basically, it's on that developer to say, yeah, I can build this and people will come. If they don't believe people will come, we don't have to build it. Does that answer your question?
Does that sound about right, or anything you want to add? Please, you've done most of the work, so.
Pat DeShane's Community Economic Development Director. So, good. How are you doing? It's nice to see you. Around that is pretty much what it is. So the MBTA communities, it was state legislature from 2021. The time for a town like Walpole to enact it is within this calendar year. So, as mentioned, it's zoning so much. It's not a mandate to build or a mandate to construct. We have zoning currently within our downtown. We have zoning throughout the town. And so what you see in place currently is what's been built with our existing zoning. So the zoning that we're looking to put forward, it meets compliance with the state regulations from the law that was passed in 2021. But there's no mandate to construct. There's no mandate to build. It's more or less trying to make those additional options available for potential future redevelopment. But they're regulated to, so to speak. It's not just something that's open-ended that a developer wouldn't still need to go through what's called like a site plan review process, building permits. Everything is still regulated. It's just, the main element is the multifamily element, housing, whereas mixed use is the only form of housing that's currently allowed. So,
I understand the legality and the state mandate. What I'm
Yep.
wondering to hear from the town is, okay, do we have a vision for this? Do we have a vision for how much we're gonna permit? I understand up by Union and West, that lot, which should be developed, they should do something with it, but parking might very well be an issue on Spring Street and so on. I just wonder, where the town is going with all this. Does it have, do we have a plan, or is it just kind of like a year at a time if someone offers some money, or?
no, so I mean, in terms of vision, we had a steering committee that was put together, appointed by the select board. And so while it may have been a mandate from the state, the steering committee wanted to make sure what we were doing was thinking for the future, having long-term implications. What could this potentially be? So I guess in terms of visioning, what they wanted to do with it was break it up into not just a blanket zoning, but we have sub-districts. We have more or less a higher density closer to the train station, lower density sub-districts on almost like a transitional zone between what would be our general residential, more the neighborhoods, and then what is the downtown core. So in terms of, I guess, visioning, it's trying to more or less not have the spread of that higher density housing, but really kind of centralize it and within the train station, kind of be more true to what the law is, but also have that character for the town preserved, have that kind of separation between what is your commercial downtown and what is more the rest of the surrounding neighborhood. So, yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
Through you? John, I'm not sure if this addresses your concern, but one of the things I hear quite often is complaints about, apartment buildings. Why can't they be condos? Why are they apartments? And there's too much building and so forth and so on. And I think, again, Patrick is the expert, I'm not, but the town doesn't have the power to say, this is how things will be developed. It has the power to say, you have to go through certain procedures if you want to build, and you can only build this kind of apartments or buildings or multi-family dwellings. But it's then up to a developer to decide if they want to buy property that's there and do something with it. And as long as that developer goes through the process and meets the requirements in terms of parking and access to emergency vehicles and so forth, the town can't say, you know what, you got too many of those. We're not in a situation where we're planning a perfect community and saying, oh, let's have some of this here and some of that there. That's private property rules in that sense. And what the government can do is constrain that. Yes, you can build here, but it can only be so high, or it can't be that close to the edges of the property. So that's what zoning is all about. But we don't have, I don't think anybody in any town in Massachusetts has the power to just say, we're only going to let this kind of development happen. I think there's, private property can be developed the way people want to develop it, as long as they're within the guidelines or the rules. I hope that helps.
That
was well
explains
said.
more clearly. Thank you, Sue.
Much more eloquent than I would have. Any other questions? And could we just get your name and what precinct you're from?
Donna Sherman, Precinct 6.
Thank you, Donna. Other questions from the public? On any article, topic? Yep.
Question, but I was late, so I don't know if it was asked already.
Nothing's been
Nothing
asked.
was
So if you could just come to the microphone, that's what we just need to get you on the microphone. In your name and what precinct you're from.
Nancy Day in Precinct 1, and it's about the zoning article. My question is, what happens if it gets voted no? I know there's a penalty from the state, but what happens if we vote it down?
So that's a really good question. My assumption is the state will take some action against us. Jim, I'll let you
So
turn over.
basically, we did this in the spring because the state's mandating it has to be done by the end of this year. So we would, if it gets shot down, it gets referred back to committee, it will likely come back in the fall for consideration. If it gets shot down again, the town will likely be in jeopardy of losing multiple grants. And fortunately, if I'm asked the question, we don't know what those grants are. We took a look through Jody, our finance director, did some great work on this. Total state grants is about $6.6 million. So those grants would be in jeopardy. They've gone back and clawed back at least $120,000 for some seawall in Milton that was already awarded to the town of Milton. And I'll tell you, our legal budget will probably increase by $200,000. I spoke to our attorney yesterday because she said, because there's someone who wants to come forward with a substitute motion. He was here, he was upfront, and I appreciated that. And he said, he was actually on the steering committee, and he said, I actually think it's a well-written bylaw. I just don't like that the state's mandating it. I agree with him. I think a lot of people in this room probably agree that they don't like the state's coming in and mandating zoning for cities and towns. It's 100 plus cities and towns. I think it's like 177 or something like that. But that's what they're doing. And the Attorney General is going after cities and towns. She's not holding back. And the governor's working side by side with her. And I think what's written here is less intrusive than the current zoning that we have in place. We've had a couple of developers already look at it and say, well, I think I'll, not 95, the corner of Spring and West Street. They looked at it and they said, we don't really want to wait until the zoning takes place. We can go forward under your current zoning and do this through a site plan with the planning board. So that's the repercussions.
I will say it drives me insane, but at the same time, I spent my life running a business while also being a lawyer. And many times I wanted to fight, knowing that I could win in court, but the easier thing was to not fight and just let it go because it was better for business. This is one of those ones where it's better for business to go along than fight. And the reality is that, tell me if I'm wrong, Jim, you just said it, Patrick, the current zoning bylaws are better, are better for
suited
the
for
developers than this would be. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's changing anything significant of value, so I say why fight? And that's why I voted on this committee, my personal opinion.
It's a change in the
For this article.
bylaw. It's not saying we're going out and building all kinds of
It's
stuff.
an overlay
Correct.
No,
district.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know that people understand that either.
Right.
Thank you.
Don, another question?
So this whole business of making the affordable housing quota thing. Oh, we should have these meetings earlier in the day. Seniors don't have much energy at this hour. The other thing that concerns me is always trying to catch up with the affordable housing. So if the developer can request it and a grant permit is granted and so on and forth, how do we always get ahead of this affordable housing 10% deal?
So as part of this bylaw, it's 14%, right?
No, so
This side.
for the MBTA in particular, it's 10% after the 10.
So we have a 10% built in there, Donna, for this, as part of this requirement. So if you go and build 100 units, 10 of them have to come in as affordable, so we don't continue to lose on our affordable housing stock. We're currently at roughly 10.8%. Does that sound about right when you count Summer Street? and
So when
Gillis?
we count what we're expecting, we'll be around 10.8%.
Yeah, so we're currently at about 10.8% when you consider Gilmore's and the Summer Street project. So we're there, but we just don't want to lose, and that's one of the reasons why Article 12 is the inclusionary zoning bylaw, which requires you build it's condos and apartments, doesn't apply to subdivisions. Anything over 6 units, you have to have a small affordable component, so we don't continue to lose.
Excellent. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Seeing none,
You already have a motion.
we already have the
I
motion.
will second.
Seconded, so now we can vote to end the meeting. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain. Excellent. Public hearing is closed. Thank you.
11:00.
But you can stay.
Yeah, you can stay, but I'm assuming most of you want to leave. We do have one thing on the agenda, or one, in addition to the minutes, We have an update to Article 10.
Yeah, sure. So if I could explain this. So back on January 8th, the Sewer and Water Commissioners voted to include Jarvis Farm. At the last meeting, they voted to reconsider this. They expressed concern over PFAS coming in, because that's an area one in the Water Protection Overlay District. And they just generally had some concerns about putting solar over an overlay. You know what, it's honestly, they control that property, so I'm not looking for a substitute motion. They're not supportive of it, they want to explore it a little bit further. So what you have here is a proposal just to simply strike through the language relating to Jarvis Farm and the language relating to Water and Sewer Commission for water supply purposes. So on page 2 of this handout is how I would suggest the Finance Committee vote on it with those items withdrawn.
So in this case, we have to have a motion to reconsider Article 10, and then,
Remove those items I just mentioned, and then move to pass this proposed change.
and as it would be on the page 2, that is what the motion would be at town meeting next week.
Yes.
Do we have any questions or comments or discussion before we do anything?
Danny,
Yeah.
just one question. Any of these other sites near a water source?
Central Fire Station, Police Department. No.
Thank
Sorry, I had to think about it.
That's all
Yeah.
right, thank you.
But not the solar, yeah.
I had a question.
Yeah.
So, how, if you know, how would the PFAS, what does that have to do with solar?
I can't speak for their reasoning. I just got a call on Saturday morning from the chairman. He asked me to,
'Cause it
can we do
doesn't
something about this? And quite honestly, we're in litigation now to get, we're actually gonna receive a pretty large settlement for PFAS in the millions, which is gonna allow us to build some type of a treatment plant.
Oh, yeah, I'm all about
so-
that. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to understand intellectually how PFAS would.
The way it was
be
explained to me
produced
is they were
by-
concerned that it would hit the panels and run off into the supply, and somehow, I can't, they were concerned with that, and that could lead to PFAS. That's all I know, Susan, so.
All right, okay.
I believe there's some solar panels that use PFAS in their construction, but not all of them, and it's, so maybe that's it. Maybe that's the runoff concern.
I guess if they use PFAS, I didn't know that they did, so that's helpful. Okay.
Any
I'd move to reconsider.
Second.
So, Mark, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? So 11-0-0. And so I think we've had the discussion. If there are any other questions, I'll just put that out there for the update here. Otherwise,
I will make a motion to accept the revised language. How do I?
so motion to amend Article, do we have a motion to amend Article 10?
And as noted in the handout dated May 6th.
Perfect. Does that work for you, Jim?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Mark there. All in favor?
Favorable action.
Motion favorable action, yes, thank you.
Get a second.
We did Mark, yep, Doug and Mark.
Clarify the motion, seconded.
We'll take that as the second.
All right.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstains? 11-0-0. So that is good. So anything else? I wanted to see if we could get the minutes done in the spring rather than wait till the fall.
The only other item on the agenda is to authorize
right. Thank you, Mark.
the Finance Committee Chair, and I would add the Vice Chair in the absence of the Chair, to authorize transfers and to interdepartment transfers and reserve fund transfers. Are we doing a cap anymore, or are we just going open-ended on the, we had capped it previously, I wasn't sure.
Mass General Law allows us to do whatever we want.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily need.
And the Select Board's not planning on capping their
No.
items? Okay. So I move to authorize the Chair, and in his absence, the Vice Chair, to make reserve fund transfers and interdepartment transfers through a date of July 15th to facilitate closing the books.
Thank you.
Second.
Done this before.
Yeah. So Mark, we'll say Sue. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? Another 11-0-0. Perfect. So next is the minutes. I've sent them out to everyone. There's a number of red lines
Sorry.
on here.
A lot of it.
No, it's good.
The English major in me kind of went crazy.
So let me, I'm going to just go by the dates. So I have the meeting minutes for February 5th, 2024. We have red lines from several members, Jean, Sue. Jean and Sue. Does anyone else have any other changes, questions? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes as amended? Or
Yeah.
sig-
As redlined. I'll accept the changes and they'll be finalized and,
All of them? I wasn't at one meeting.
no, that we're just, this is for
just doing
February
February
5th. We'll
Okay,
go
yeah.
through each one, yeah.
Sorry.
So February 5th is, oh, yeah, we're gonna vote. Sorry, let's just keep moving. I'm ready for the Bruins face off at 8 o'clock. We gotta get home. So thank you, Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 11-0-0. So I'm gonna close there. This is February 8th, minutes for February 8th. We have some changes from Jean and Sue. Yep, and everyone here was there that night. So any questions, comments?
Not me.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as amended from February 8th.
Yeah, you were not. Sorry. I see it there. Yeah, thank you. And it's clear.
You and I had fun.
Uh, All those in favor?
Focused on grammar and spelling.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Perfect.
10-0-1.
10-0-1. We've got the minutes for February 26, 2024. We had 12 members there. We have some edits from Sue and Jean and Doug. Doug jumped in on this one. Any questions, comments? If not, do we have a motion for favorable action?
We'll make a motion for favorable action on the minutes of February 26th as amended.
Second.
Second, Sue, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? 11-0-0. Next are the minutes from March 7th, 2027. I was absent on this one. Josette was absent and Larry was absent. We have some edits here from Jean and Doug. Sue left this one alone. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Seeing none,
Motion to accept the minutes as amended for March 7th, 2024.
we have a second.
I'll second.
Sue, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain, so that would be
0-1.
10-0-1.
Zero, yeah.
Yeah, so just, that hasn't been approved by them.
Motion, no, minutes for March 25th, 2024. We have amendments, edits from Jean and Sue. Absent on this event date was Lisa and Steve. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to accept the minutes of March 25th as amended.
Second.
Second by Susan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Abstain.
He abstains.
Yep. Thank you. And finally,
0-3.
yeah, it should be the only one left, but let's just make sure, yeah. Meeting minutes from April 8th, 2024. We had Lisa and Sue were absent as they were watching the solar eclipse live in prime time zone. We have edits here from Jean and Doug. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to accept the minutes of April 8th
2024.
2024 as amended.
Gene has seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain?
Opposed, abstain,
Okay, sorry.
Perfect.
902.
Thank you. And those are the minutes.
And the eclipse was awesome.
Yeah, I bet.
I was a little jealous.
The drive home was not.
I was on 95 the whole way, went to Holton, it was great, no problems.
And that's it. Anything, comments, anything from anyone else?
Yes, so I mentioned this in an email and then cautioned people not to respond because we can't discuss, but if you could just give me the privilege of reading a paragraph. This was in the Walpole Hometown Weekly, and it goes back to a conversation we had a couple of weeks ago. This class called How Needham Works, Town Government for the People, in person. Needham's town government is democracy in its purest form, with the opportunity for every citizen to participate in shaping policy, creating budgets, and setting priorities. Spend an evening learning about Needham's town government from a panel of town officials, including the town manager, member of the select board, a school committee member, and the chair of the planning board. You will learn about the structure of Needham's government, how decisions are made and implemented, the budget process and funding, how you can participate in town government, and how to stay informed. There'll be ample time for questions and answers as well. When I saw that after our meeting, I thought, perfect, we should try to maybe do something like that in the fall. And I think there's really a crying need for something like this, to just give people a chance to understand what we do and how it works, so.
Love it.
Maybe Jim and I can talk about this at another time.
Sure, definitely.
Give you something else.
Yeah,
something
one more
else on
thing,
your
Jim.
plate.
You take me to the muffin house, it's fine.
Got it.
Anything from anyone else? None, do we have
that's a
a
great
motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.